welcome to government class. With you today is Ms. Wokoma Tamino. Today we'll be looking at the theme, concepts and principles of government. And we'll be taking a look at the topic, types and characteristics of government, precisely confederalism, part 2. And so at the end of the class, I expect that you should be able to define the term confederation. You should also be able to state the merits and demerits, at least some merits and demerits of a confederal system of government, and you should be able to differentiate between the federal system of government and the confederal system of government. Now let's go into our lesson for today. The different systems of government that are being adopted and practiced by one country or the other or states to carry out different functions, such as to systemize, to coordinate, and manage their affairs. Functioning differently, we mean these different governments carry out different things or are practiced differently in these different countries or nations. And so these countries that adopt these systems must choose systems of government that is suitable for the running of their affairs or the management of their affairs in that country or in that state. And so we'll be looking at the types of government we have. I know we have actually talked about this in our previous class, where we said the major type of government that are being practiced or that have been practiced in the world are the unitary, the federal, and the confederal system of government. And we saw that these different types of governments are carried out in different ways, and the distribution of their political powers are also different. And so let's take a look at the definition of confederalism just for the records. We said the term confederalism is a type or a system of government in which different group of states, independent states or sovereign states, come together to form a union with the central government at the center. We also looked at how these component states are being empowered to carry out major functions in the government, thereby leaving the central government weak. And so having looked at all of that in our previous class, we will just go direct into the merits and demerits of confederalism as a system of government. First of all, we'll be looking at the merits of a confederal system of government. Some of them are equality of states, voluntary union, sovereignty and identity, healthy competition, protection from powerful enemies. So all of these are advantages that are gotten from a confederal system of government. However, we'll look at them one after the other. The first, equality of states. The component states that are being adopted or that actually form this confederacy, when they come into the confederal system of government, they really do not have need to be afraid. Now, they don't have need to be afraid of more powerful countries that are members of that same confederacy, or even more powerful countries that are not members, because to a large extent, the Constitution provides equality of power to each component state. It makes them equal. There's no small states, there's no big states, so nobody sees his or her state as being oppressed or suppressed by another state. And also, on the other hand, where there's any threat or there's any war or any issue, you see that the confederacy to which that smaller state belongs to will come out and fight for that state. So that's one other beauty that is seen in a confederal system of government, that smaller states do not have need to fear because of the equality of states given by the Constitution. Another is a voluntary union. Now, no component state is being forced to join the confederacy. In the federal system of government, these component states are allowed to become members or decide not to become members. They can decide to join and remain in the union or that confederacy as members, and then they can get in voluntarily. They also have the right to pull away, to withdraw or secede from that confederacy as they wish, or like they want to, whenever they want to. They have the right to join freely, voluntarily, and also have the right to leave, withdraw, or secede from the confederacy willingly as they desire. Another beauty or another advantage in the confederal system of government is that it brings about healthy competition. Now, this system actually encourages or promotes and gives room to their component states to improve. They improve in the development of their respective nations or countries, thereby bringing about healthy competitions among these different states that are members of that confederacy. So such competitions indeed can be considered to be healthy because it will expand the market system that is being practiced in that state or in those states, those component states, and in turn will also bring about development, increase, and promotion to their nation, to the people, and their economy at large. Another advantage of confederal system is the sovereignty and identity that is being retained by the component units or component states. Now, these states that become members of the confederacy, when they join, they still have their sovereignty and their identity with them because the Constitution provides for them, that's the component states in the confederal system of government, to retain, maintain, and allow them to also carry out their sovereignty and their identity just the way they want it. And so that's one advantage that is seen in the confederal system of government. Another is the protection against powerful enemies, just like I had explained earlier on. The union that is being formed by these component states in the confederal system of government protects weak states from being conquered by more powerful states outside the confederal system of government or outside that particular confederacy that the weak state is a member of. So it helps it to stand against powerful enemies of that weak state. Having looked at the merits, beautiful things that actually are accrued to a confederal system of government, there are still lapses, there are still shortcomings that are seen in the confederal system of government, and that's what we're about to look at. The demerits or disadvantages of the confederal system of government. One is the secession from the union, uneven development, citizens disregard the central government, and then political instability. Let's take a look at them one after the other. Secession from the union. Like we had said, this is a right that is being given to these component states to voluntarily join and to also pull out, withdraw, leave the union or the confederacy at their will, just like they desire. And when they do this, the disadvantage is that it destabilizes the system. The confederacy or the union actually is not stable like before, and so it leads to the break of the union in one way or the other. Another is the uneven development. Now, because confederalism gives room for you to develop your own respective nation or country, you see that the level of development amongst the different component states cannot be equal. Some will be way higher, while some will be way lower. So you have the different component states having different measures of development and increase in their nation and their economy at large. Another demerit of the confederal system of government is citizens' disregard to the central government. Now, the constitution of this form of government gives more power, like we know, to the states, the sovereign states that are members. And as a result, its citizens automatically pay more respect and attention to their respective states more than the central government. So we can say that these powers that are given to the states, the component states, actually make the citizens of these component states obey their respective states far more than the central government. And this is one way that actually leads to a break in the union, and also it decreases the powers that the central government will have to settle disputes among the component states and to also have a say and make decisions in that confederacy. And lastly, One other disadvantage or demerit is the political instability that comes from the confederal system of government. Now, because we had talked about the loose and the strict form of confederalism in our previous class, I believe we have an idea about what we're about to discuss. Now, a confederal system of government, which is mostly a loose political union of sovereign states, actually brings together different sovereign states with a common goal. And now this union have no strict measures given to them to stay together, and so they can pull out and bring about political instability. So in the case where they actually come in and live without regard, live without any strict measures, just pull out, it can also bring about political instability. Having looked at the merits and demerits of a confederal system of government, I'd like us to take a look at the differences between a confederal system of government and a federal system of government. The first point here states that in the federal system of government, powers in this federal system of government is shared between the central government, which is at the center, and the component states. Although the powers vary, it's not equal, but then the powers that are being given to the central government is way more than the powers that are being shared to the component units. Whereas in the confederal system, power is not shared in the confederal system. Rather, what happens is that the component states willingly contribute powers, give powers to the central government, which we know that that's one feature that makes it a weak central government. The second point says central government in the federal system of government is vested with powers, more powers than the component units with which the central government uses to govern the sovereign states. But in a confederal system of government, the government is usually weak because the states are empowered more and are more powerful than the central government. And so we can say the difference is that in the federal system of government, the central government is so powerful, whereas in the confederal system of government, the central government is very weak, while the states, component states, are very powerful. The third point says that citizens in the federal system of government are obedient to not just the states, but also the central government. In fact, they are obedient more to the central government before their states because of how the hierarchy of powers are seen or are observed and respected in a federal system of government. But in a confederal system of government, citizens only or mostly pay attention to just their respective governments of their states. Another is that there is no legal right given for secession in the federal system of government, whereas in the confederal system, the component states are given the right from the Constitution to pull out, withdraw whenever they desire. The next says sovereignty in the federal system of government is held by central government, and it is more politically stable because the sovereign power is held by the central government. Now, in the confederal system of government, sovereignty is held by the component states that come together to form the confederacy. And then this actually, with the rights given to them to pull out at any time they will, actually makes or generates political instability in that country or in that nation practicing confederalism. And then the central government owns and maintains the armed forces in a federal system of government. But in a confederal system of government, the component states are the ones that own and maintain their individual army. So what it means is that country A, country B, country C, and country D, as they come to join those component states, when they come and form that confederacy with the central government at the center, they don't give the rights to the central government to maintain and manage their armed forces. Rather, country A or state A manages and controls its army. Same with B, C, and D. Whereas in the federal system of government, it is not so. This brings us to the end of our lesson, but before we go, I'd like us to have a quick recap on all we learned today. Once again, we had a recap on the definition of a confederal system of government, where we said it's a group of sovereign states coming together with a common purpose and having a central government at the center. We also looked at the confederal system of government as one where the component states are empowered far more than the central government, thereby leaving the central government weak. And then we looked at some merits and demerits of the confederal system of government, where we said some merits were the equality of states, healthy competition comes forth as a result of the liberty given to the component states to carry out their own work out, do with your resources and bring about what you want to bring about development in your country. And then we also looked at protection from powerful enemies. And we looked at the demerits, some of which we said are secession from the union brings about instability, and then uneven development breaks forth. Citizens also disregard the central government because their state governments are more powerful than the central government. And then we looked at some differences between the federal system of government and the confederal system of government, where we mentioned some areas such as the distribution of powers, how powers are distributed in both places and they are different. We looked at how the citizens are being loyal and obedient in a particular system to different bodies. Some are loyal to the central government, while some are loyal to the component states. And then we also looked at the right to secede in both systems. This brings us to the end of our lesson for today. But before we go, I'd like us to have a quick test to know how well we understood our lesson for today. The first one is, which of these is a demerit of a confederal system of government? Which of these is a disadvantage? A, equality of states. B, healthy competition. And C, unequal distribution. All right, if you picked A or B, you're wrong. The answer is C. It brings about uneven distribution of wealth and even development. From our lesson, we were told that the confederal system of government is one that actually brings about uneven development amongst the component states. The second question reads, which of these is true? A, in a confederation, the central government owns and maintains the armed forces. B, in a confederation, the component states lack the right to secede from the confederacy. And C, in a confederation, the component states are more powerful than the central government. All right, if you picked A or B, you're wrong. Our right answer is C, because one feature in the confederal system of government is that the component states are more powerful than the central government, more powerful to the extent that they contribute powers and resources to the government. Well, this brings us to the end of our lesson for today. I hope you learned a lot. See you some other time. Thank you.